Chapter 23:15, Interstellar Migration 1. According to Zhang Yi and his team's investigation, the cracks on the moon had been forming for half a year. But people had forgotten to gaze at the stars, so it hadn't drawn much attention. During that period, nations across the world were preoccupied. The Holy See organized the Operation Demon's Eye, the Knights of the Round Table journeyed to Atlantis, the 8 tribes of Brahma entered the Trial of the Trimurti, while on the Fremon's side, Morana led an expedition to the Arctic Ocean in search of the ruins of a lost civilization. Now, having discovered the moon's changes, major powers observed its transformations daily. Though cracks now mar its surface, the moon still hangs high in the sky each day, illuminating the world. On the surface, it appears unchanged, yet unease lingers in people's hearts. Zhang Yi waited for the reactions of the world's other powers. After all, this was not a personal matter, but one requiring the collective solution of all humanity. On this day, he sought out Professor Da Vinci. Since returning from the Wulwan Empire, Professor Da Vinci had immersed himself in its study, neglecting sleep and rest. This included analyzing the biological fragments he'd obtained and the cultural historical intelligence extracted from the Empire's databases. These discoveries drove him to near obsession. He locked himself away in his villa, even skipping that day's banquet. When Zhang Yi arrived, he could see from afar that the house was swaying slightly. He thought for a moment, then approached the door and knocked. "Who is it?" "I'm busy." The house stopped swaying, and Brian's irritated voice came from upstairs. "It's me, Chaos." "Oh, damn it. So it's my dear brother who's arrived." A moment later, Brian opened the door wrapped in a towel, sweat clearly visible on his body. Zhang Yi stared at him expressionlessly. "Hey, don't look at me like that. I was just... working out." Zhang Yi waved dismissively. "Whatever floats your boat. Guess spot training counts as exercise. I'm here to see Professor Da Vinci. Is he available?" Hearing this, Brian gave a thumbs up with his paw. "He's in the lab at the back." Zhang Yi motioned for Brian to knock on the door. After another heated exchange between man and dog, Professor Da Vinci finally let Zhang Yi enter. His lab was already crammed with all sorts of jumbled objects. Numerous massive glass jars contained complex cellular tissues. A chill ran down Zhang Yi's spine. "You're not seriously planning to fuse lizard people with humans and create some kind of freak, are you?" Professor Da Vinci replied, "You're overthinking it. We've conducted numerous such biological experiments, and the evidence shows this evolutionary path is impractical. The creatures crafted by the Creator are already perfect. I'm merely extracting fragments from their genes to attempt compiling human genetic material, aiming to create more powerful mutants." Zhang Yi gave him a thumbs up. "Awesome." Without beating around the bush, he got straight to the point. First, he explained the lunar changes, then asked bluntly, "Are you aware of this? I mean, the Columbia higher-ups?" Years ago, wealthy individuals in Columbia began constructing doomsday shelters. Even on Mars today, human survival bases have been established. Over a decade ago, a visionary entrepreneur named Elon Freeman invested nearly his entire fortune to recruit 300 volunteers worldwide. Together, they embarked on a mission to Mars to establish a human settlement. This endeavor caused a global sensation at the time. The operation required investments exceeding $100 billion, and those 300 individuals were experts in their respective fields. However, subsequent updates on the mission grew scarce, vanishing from newspapers and news outlets. People only vaguely knew they had successfully landed on Mars and truly built a survival base. To this day, how things developed up there and how many people remain alive remain unknown. Zhang Yi thus suspected that Columbia's high-ranking officials, who had long been in contact with the underground civilization, already knew something. Da Vinci lifted his dead fish eyes, staring at Zhang Yi for a moment before speaking indifferently. "Humans have long known they would face an apocalyptic catastrophe. So what's so strange about them doing anything to avoid extinction? I joined the pupil organization, though only out of curiosity and to obtain resources from them. But I did manage to glean some intelligence about the apocalypse from them. The Ice Age wasn't what ended human civilization. The Day of the Fall did. That's why they speculated long ago that the true cause of the apocalypse was a meteor strike. That's why Elon Freeman decided to flee to Mars. Even that Mars base received significant support from many members of the pupil organization. Otherwise, do you think the operation could have proceeded so smoothly on his own? After all, this is a colossal plan involving an incredibly complex web of personnel and institutions. It even requires backing from the highest levels of the Columbia government. Jean-Yi understood this point well. Elon Freeman had once invested massive assets to install his own man as the chief of Fremons. Jean-Yi pressed on, so, what's the outcome? Have many high-ranking officials in Columbia already decided to flee to Mars? Jean-Yi voiced the question he most wanted to ask. On the Day of Fall, the planet could no longer be safe. But what about Mars? Could it replace this planet as the birthplace of a new human civilization? According to the Ehen tribe, the planets are the center of the entire universe. The cosmos is barren and fraught with danger. Yet Mars' conditions most closely resemble those of a planet. Perhaps it could replace Earth as a new habitat. This thought did indeed occupy Zhang-Yi's mind. Now that the underground survival base existed, it was time to consider a space survival base. Professor Da Vinci set down his work and spread his hands toward Zhang-Yi. That's beyond my knowledge. After all, it's top-level classified information. But from what we see now, it doesn't seem to be going smoothly. Zhang-Yi raised an eyebrow. Oh? Why do you say that? Humph, Professor Da Vinci snorted dismissively. Because if it were truly safe and habitable for humans, those damned capitalists and politicians would have already been migrating there with all their might. Zhang-Yi shrugged. You're right. The intelligence Zhang-Yi gleaned from Professor Da Vinci remained uncertain. If even Mars wasn't suitable for human habitation, then nowhere else in the entire solar system would be. In that case, we absolutely must visit the Moon. Investigate the truth behind the Moon's fragmentation and resolve this major problem. Zhang-Yi thought to himself with a hint of resignation. However, for now, the most crucial task to protect himself was to strengthen both his own abilities and those of his entire team. Since the triumphant return from the Wulwan Empire, the vast majority of resources had been channeled into Zhang-Yi's personal dimensional space. Development of the underground world was in full swing. That superspace, located over 20,000 meters below ground, had been maintained by the Wulwan Empire for countless years. Its entire perimeter was reinforced with exceptionally resilient alloy materials. Should a catastrophe like a lunar impact fragment occur, as long as it wasn't a direct hit, it shouldn't inflict catastrophic damage. Zhang Yi summoned Yang Xinxin and meticulously planned disaster preparedness measures. The worst-case scenario would be abandoning all surface assets and retreating underground with as many people as possible. The cost, however, would be enduring an extended period without sunlight. Volcanic ash could blanket the sky for centuries. Meanwhile, Lu Karen, Uncle Yu, Fatty Sue, and others received the news and threw themselves into fortification efforts. Mobilizing forces, expanding the Mechanical Legion's development on a larger scale. Even during the assault on the Wulwan Empire, insufficient resources had limited deployment to merely 50,000 mechanical life forms. But after plundering the entire Wulwan Empire's resources, the energy problem was now completely resolved. Lu Karen need only issue a single command for those mechanical life forms to replicate themselves. Within 2 months, Zhang Yi would command a full-fledged Mechanical Legion army of 200,000 units. They could fight on the battlefield or serve as engineering troops, excavating subterranean spaces. Regarding weaponry, Ling had fallen into a deep slumber. Who knew what form she would take upon awakening? Meanwhile, Zhang Yi's demon god armor underwent yet another evolution. This time, Yang Xinxin handed over the captured armor of the End to Lu Karen, instructing her to integrate its materials and source energy into Zhang Yi's demon god armor. The armor of the End, a forbidden artifact of the Wulwan Empire, represented the ultimate fusion of technology and the power of faith. Once awakened, it possessed combat power rivaling that of a black bishop of level 1. It was a treasured heirloom passed down through generations of the Wulwan Empire's royal family, requiring royal blood to activate, the ultimate weapon kept hidden away. Unfortunately, the current Emperor Suyi hadn't had time to activate it before Yang Xinxin used her abilities to subdue the person controlling the Armor of the End. Otherwise, had the Armor of the End been unleashed earlier, the outcome of that battlefield would have been far from certain. Lu Karen stared at the monstrous, terrifying giant battle armor and exclaimed in shock, "Are you out of your mind? That thing is meant to annihilate nations. Integrating it into Brother's demon god armor? Isn't that a bit over the top?" Lu Karen replied, "It serves no purpose for me. But Brother needs to enhance his strength." As she spoke, her gaze softened as she looked at Zhao Mu beside her. "After all, Brother is my sword, and I am his scabbard. The sword only needs to be sharp enough, while the scabbard's role is to contain the blade." Yang Xinxin had never liked getting her hands dirty in battle. As a strategist, even with her formidable supernatural talents, she despised staining her hands with blood. What she enjoyed most was nurturing Zhang Yi's growth. It gave her immense satisfaction. Zhang Yi shrugged. "Every bit of strength gained now counts. Besides, this thing has another remarkably useful application." Zhang Yi studied the Armor of the End. Its monstrous, terrifying form conjured countless images in his mind. The Undertaker of the Southwest region, Marshal Ken Sane of the Keiji Kingdom. Zhang Yi dared not lightly touch the power of faith, for it might invite calamity. But what if it were channeled through a different vessel? He stepped before the Armor of the End, gently touching its surface. Instantly, he felt an overwhelming aura of murderous intent. Zhang Yi, however, was unfazed. He pressed his hand firmly against it, swiftly and decisively suppressing that self-awareness. "I refuse to wield the power of faith, but I can harness it to absorb for me. Across the entire Huashu Kingdom, I now stand as a godlike existence to ordinary people. Then, letting this power go unused is a waste. I shall bind it to this armor instead." Truthfully, Zhang Yi had sensed that willpower long ago. When countless people harbored a shared desire, it coalesced into a force known as willpower. Zhang Yi understood it as countless fragments of ether reshaping the real world. When this force became deeply devout, a heartfelt belief in the power of a certain entity, it transformed into the power of faith. Yang Xinxin naturally picked up where Zhang Yi left off. "I'll make the arrangements. Have the 6 major regions cooperate. Spread the demon god armor as your image, Brother, to everyone in Huashu Kingdom. Starting today, everyone will be told of your deeds, proclaiming you as Huashu Kingdom's savior. Once this power is concentrated within the armor, you will be able to harness it without suffering the backlash of the power of faith." Lu Karen couldn't help but marvel, brilliant. Truly a genius idea. Zhang Yi looked at Lu Karen. "Karen, what do you say? Confident you can handle it?" Lu Karen flexed her fingers, gazing at the suspended demon god armor and the massive, fearsome Armor of the End before her. She nodded solemnly. "No problem. I can do it. After all, I'm not far from breaking through to the level of a white bishop with 30,000 points." Lu Karen's current ability index stood at a staggering 25,000 points. During the War of Destruction, she had personally hunted down a silver armored general and annihilated countless elite troops of the Wulwan Empire, reaping immense rewards. Not to mention the vast resources Zhang Yi had distributed to everyone after the war, all plundered from the Wulwan Empire's treasury. Her skills grew increasingly refined. She could now even disintegrate molecules from the air to create any substance she desired. Zhang Yi pinched her soft, adorable cheeks and smiled. "Hearing you say that puts my mind at ease. From here on out, I'll leave everything to you." Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin departed. Lu Karen no longer needed assistance. Countless mechanical life-form engineers now surrounded her, capable of completing every task. Her role was to utilize her transformation from nothing, ability to deconstruct and reassemble. Chapter 23:16, Interstellar Migration 2. Zhang Yi's team was growing at a terrifying pace. The research findings of Deng's technology had fallen into Zhang Yi's hands. They revealed that humans could actually deceive the gods and obtain spiritual essence by mass-cultivating embryos. Soon, Zhang Yi's own biological factory was established. He operated this facility independently, initially keeping Zhou Qir, an expert in the field, uninvolved. He believed Zhou Qir, a person of high moral integrity, would likely reject this method of acquiring ether fragments. However, upon hearing the news, Zhou Qir volunteered to oversee the biological factory project. When humanity stands on the brink of extinction, survival is paramount. Moral and ethical considerations come only after ensuring our continued existence. Having spent considerable time with Zhang Yi, Zhou Qir's perspective had long since shifted. Zhang Yi nodded. The biofactory and the Earth Centipede Farm are now under your command. Have Frog assist you, he's practically a half-expert by now. But Zhang Yi trailed off, a look of bewilderment flickering in his eyes. Noticing this, Zhou Qir gently stepped forward and wrapped her arm around his. Her tenderness enveloped him in a comforting warmth. What's wrong? Has the pressure been too much lately? Should we take a break? We've got everything else covered. Zhang Yi shook his head, a faint smile touching his lips. I'm just feeling lost. Lost. Zhou Qir blinked her large, beautiful eyes, her lovely lashes fluttering lightly. Confused about what? Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes, his mind racing with thoughts. We always believed the source of all cosmic power came from the ether. But the discovery of the Earth centipedes proves they can convert the energy of matter into supernatural abilities. And we've uncovered so many underground civilizations, they consume vast amounts of energy resources. Yet the total ether fragments in the entire universe don't seem to have increased significantly. We could exploit these biological factories to cheat the system and acquire more ether fragments. Or perhaps, beyond ether, other forms of power exist? Zhang Yi's centipede farm continues to operate today. Every day, the frogs must invest vast quantities of yuan stone veins to feed the plump, fat earth centipedes. Their growth rate is astonishingly fast. Aside from being unable to break through the epsilon barrier, they face almost no bottlenecks. As long as they keep eating, they can smoothly grow to a level of 9,999 points in their ability index. Then, they would be harvested and transformed into energy bottles, used to enhance the strength of Zhang Yi and his companions. Zhang Yi looked at Zhou Qir. I think if we could figure out this question, we might be able to grow stronger faster. Instead of just plunging and fighting each other like we are now. Zhou Qir's eyes lit up. You mean develop new energy sources? Easier said than done. Zhang Yi sighed deeply. Over the past 46 billion years, ancient civilizations undoubtedly tried every method to grow stronger. Yet ultimately, they all ended up hunting each other down to obtain ether fragments. Take the Earth centipedes, for instance. Their growth is also limited. Without the source of the gods or the spirit of sacrifice, they cannot break through the epsilon barrier. It's just that they seem like a glitch. I have a premonition. If my discovery holds true, once we find the answer to this problem, perhaps we can escape the fate of being controlled by the Creator and trapped in an endless cycle. Zhou Qir marveled at Zhang Yi's wild imagination, her beautiful eyes widening in astonishment before she gently rested her head on his shoulder. Zhang Yi, you truly are a genius. Zhang Yi shrugged and chuckled. I always have been. The road ahead is long and arduous, yet I shall search high and low. Zhang Yi had only a hypothesis, with no means to verify it. For now, he focused on diligently strengthening his abilities. In the period that followed, the entire Huashu kingdom grew at a terrifying pace. The 6 major regions, receiving resources and technology allocated by Zhang Yi, saw tremendous improvements in both technological advancement and the caliber of their extraordinary individuals. Especially in Tianhai City. Zhang Yi led his people back to their former home in Tianhai City. Though it lay in ruins once more, rebuilding proved remarkably straightforward. Human labor was scarcely needed. Engineering-type mechanical lifeforms swiftly fashioned bricks, concrete, and bulletproof glass from existing materials. Scraping materials from the rubble, they forged steel reinforcement. The new Tianhai city rose from the ground for the nth time, larger and more prosperous than before. The Volt Shadow Troop trained by Li Changqing suffered 32 casualties after the major battle. The casualty rate was not low, but the survivors had all grown tremendously, developing a resolute and ruthless fighting spirit. Zhang Yi, never short of resources, immediately allocated Earth Centipede energy to fuel their growth. Soon, the Volt Shadow Troop would evolve into elite fighters with psychic indices exceeding 9,000 points. Meanwhile, Yang Xinxin swiftly established contact with the high-ranking officials of the 6 major regions. What? Chaos demands we broadcast his achievements non-stop to every person in the entire district? What's the point? To deify him? And the target image isn't even him personally, but a suit of his armor? What's the meaning behind this? The leadership of the 6 major regions expressed widespread confusion. However, in the southwest region, the Undertaker grasped the significance upon hearing this news. Zhugo and Luozhuo immediately agreed, "We will place Lord Chaos's armor image directly within the Jiakhang Temple, where it will be honored alongside the gods and Buddhas." That the leader of the Tantra could possess such insight was truly astonishing. But in the brothers' view, what Zhang Yi had done was no different from that of a Buddha. Receiving the offerings of believers was only natural. In the Xinjiang region, when the news reached Ho Tua's ears, she murmured in puzzlement, "Is Chaos intending to gather the world's collective aspirations to grow stronger through faith? Has his thinking changed?" Yang Xinxin's response to them was straightforward, "You need only follow my instructions. This will bring you no harm whatsoever." Now, Zhang Yi's power stood unrivaled across the entire Huaxu kingdom. Across the entire human world, he might well be in a league of his own. His modest request was hardly excessive. The people of the 6 major regions naturally wouldn't quarrel with Zhang Yi over such a trifling matter. Soon, the daily news channels established by the 6 major regions of Huaxu Kingdom to reassure the populace began prominently highlighting everything Zhang Yi had done for its people. His image in the demon god armor was firmly etched into the hearts of every Huaxu citizen. Nighttime. The sky remained eternally still, dotted only with scattered, fragmented stars. Beneath a thick blanket of dark clouds, the forest was filled with tall, black trees that appeared as if they were dead. Without leaves, only trunks and branches remained, as if sketched in simple lines. Even the wind struggled to make them sway. These enormous trees grew atop immense peaks, the mountains themselves a despairing black. These peaks stood between sheer cliffs, connected only by precarious-looking stone bridges. Yet from this seemingly uninhabitable realm, waves of exquisite music drifted out. Melodious and flowing, like heavenly sounds. The sound emanated from a withered forest. A young girl, clad entirely in white robes, sat upon a rock. Her eyes were closed as she listened quietly to the beautiful music, a blissful smile upon her face. The performer sat directly opposite her. Enormous, dark, and twisted, it was a bizarre creature whose appearance could only be described as abstract, as if shrouded in a layer of black mist. Yet visible were its massive, monstrous claws and the cold, hard bones protruding from its distorted head. The enormous monster sat opposite the girl, cradling a long, oddly shaped instrument in its hands. It resembled a flute from the human world, yet with fewer holes and a cruder appearance, as if hand-carved. Despite its simplicity, the music it produced rivaled that of a seasoned musician. Beneath the dark, desolate sky, accompanied by the cool evening breeze, it brought a touch of serene, distant tranquility. The white-clad girl listened to the monster's melody, completely absorbed, happily tapping her feet to the beat. This pairing of beauty and beast carried an air of bizarre absurdity. For anyone watching would surely think the frail girl could be snatched up by the enormous black beast at any moment. Its massive, elongated jaw could crush her in an instant, swallowing her whole. The beast across from her was unusually docile. After finishing its melody, a deep, pleasant voice emerged from its mouth. "Meteor, let's keep moving forward." Once we enter the Dark Sun Forest and find the Night Witch, we'll have a chance to heal your eyes. Then you'll be able to see this world clearly." The girl, Meteor, instantly brightened. "Really? That's wonderful, Fengu. Then I'll be able to see your face clearly." The girl leaped up from the rock, reaching out to touch Fengu's face. Fengu scrambled back 2 steps, nervously protesting, "No, I'm not good looking. You might be frightened if you saw me." Meteor replied, "It doesn't matter. No matter what you look like, I won't hate you. Because through your music, I've heard how pure your soul is." The monster bowed its head, ashamed by the girl's words. It was anything but pure, savage, hideous, the most foul existence in this world. As the two spoke, a brilliant light suddenly appeared in the distance. The darkness enveloping the entire world was instantly illuminated. From beyond the distant mountains, a dazzling silver radiance slowly emerged, flowing like mercury spilling across the land. The entire valley brightened, and the shadowy, dense fog began to recede. The monster's expression changed abruptly. "No! Those damned holy silver knights are chasing us." Beyond the mountains, across the vast plains, a mighty wave of silver-clad knights surged forth. Each was encased in silver armor so flawless it resembled a work of art, enveloping their entire forms. Wielding diverse weapons, they stared intently ahead. All halted, waiting silently for the command from the breathtakingly beautiful female knight standing at the very front. She was a woman of such exquisite craftsmanship, as if carved stroke by the finest sculptor. Her proportions were identical to a human's, yet the only difference was that her figure achieved a perfection unattainable by mortal flesh. It was precisely this perfection that would later become the standard by which the Creator fashioned new humanity. Her armor was forged from silver, her face as small as a palm, exquisitely delicate. Amber eyes held a hint of sharpness, while long silver hair cascaded from the nape of her neck down to her legs. Yihen Tribe, Brilliant Moon Empire, 7th Guardian General of the 7th month, Xiu Liunian. This was a perfect Yihen warrior woman, her extraordinary nature evident even in her appearance alone. Had Zhang Yi been present, he would have recognized her identity at first glance. For her face held a familiar, lingering sensation. Xiu Liunian stood at the edge of the mountain range, gazing upon the vast expanse of immense and eerie peaks. Each summit was completely drenched in black, resembling sharp spikes or twisted monstrosities, submerged in endless black mist. Her face seemed devoid of expression, yet her eyes were filled with a sharpness akin to a blade. "Ink Shadow Warrior, return Meteor. I can pardon your death sentence." Xiu Liunian extended her left hand forward, as if demanding what rightfully belonged to her. Meteor heard Xiu Liunian's voice and a brilliant smile suddenly lit up her face. "It's Sister Xiu Liunian," she said, seeming to want to approach. But Feng shielded her behind him. "Don't go, Meteor. She wants your life." Meteor's innocent and carefree demeanor tugged at his heartstrings. Xiu Liunian spoke calmly, transforming into a fire seed as her destiny. "Ink Shadow Warrior, the priests of your Dark Moon Empire have already reached an agreement with us. By doing this, do you wish to be hunted down by both our great empires?" Fengu emitted a strange chuckle. "Heh heh heh. Becoming a fire seed, her destiny, what a noble-sounding phrase. She has no reason to sacrifice herself for you. Xiu Liunian, this isn't the Brilliant Moon Empire, it's the Lost Forest. If you have the guts, come in." Xiu Liunian seemed enraged by these words. Her face remained cold and expressionless, yet with a sharp clang, she drew the long sword from her waist. Sacred moonlight surged upward as she raised her blade high, then descended as she brought it crashing down. Boom! Endless sacred radiance erupted from the blade, piercing the distant darkness of this strange, eerie mountain forest. Fengu's massive form stretched out. Facing General July's sword strike, he opened his monstrous maw. His body began to grow, not through physical expansion, but as a layer of ink-like shadow seeped from his surface.